This story is taking over true crime right now, and the reason is almost impossible to process. A man appeared to be live on YouTube for hours. Viewers could see him playing video games. They could hear him talking. They could watch the stream move forward in real time. It looked ordinary. It looked boring. And that was the point. Because according to prosecutors, while that stream made it look like Stephen McCullagh was safely at home, he was not at home at all. He was miles away. And by the time the night was over, his pregnant partner, Natalie McNally, was dead. At first, the live stream looked like an alibi. Then investigators discovered something much darker. It had not really been live. It had been recorded earlier. And if that is true, then the video was not just content. It was a trap built for the police, for the public, for Natalie's family, and for anyone who would later ask the most important question in this case: where was he when Natalie was killed? This is not just a story about a murder. It is a story about how the internet can create the perfect illusion of presence. Because for hours, a screen seemed to say, "He is here." But the evidence would later say something else. He was not. And that is what makes this case so disturbing. Not only the violence, not only the deception, but the idea that, in the digital age, someone can try to manufacture an entire version of reality and let it play while they do something unthinkable. Natalie McNally was 32 years old. She lived in Ligon, Northern Ireland. She was loved by her family, described in court reports as bright, full of life, and excited about becoming a mother. She was around 15 weeks pregnant. That detail matters because this case is often discussed through the mechanics of the alibi, the fake stream, the timeline, the technology, the way investigators broke it apart. But before any of that, there was Natalie. A woman with a future. A family waiting for a child. A life that should have continued. On the evening of December 18th, 2022, Stephen McCullagh wanted people to believe he was doing something very ordinary. He was, according to his own original story, at home in Lisburn, live streaming a gaming session on YouTube. The stream appeared to last for hours. It looked like a normal gaming broadcast, a man on camera, playing, talking, drinking, filling time, building the image of someone who had not left the house. That image was powerful. Because if a person is on a live stream, visible to viewers, apparently active for 6 hours, then how could he also be somewhere else? How could he be in another town? How could he commit a murder? That was the shield. And at first, it worked. When Natalie was found dead, McCullagh was arrested. But he had something investigators could not ignore, a digital trail that seemed to place him at home. A video. A public broadcast. An alibi with a timestamp. He was released from custody. Imagine that for a moment. A family has lost Natalie. Police are trying to understand what happened. And the man who will later be convicted of her murder is able to point to YouTube and say, in effect, "I was there. You can see me." But digital evidence can defend a lie only until someone understands how the lie was built. And that is where the case began to change. Investigators started looking deeper at the stream. Not just at what viewers saw, but at what the computer showed. The question was no longer, did the video play on YouTube? The question became, was it actually live? That distinction changed everything. Because a video can be broadcast at a certain time without being recorded at that time. A person can appear on screen without being in front of the computer. A live stream can be made to look alive while the person inside it is somewhere else entirely. According to evidence presented in court, cyber specialists found signs that the broadcast was not live at all. It had been pre-recorded days earlier, and it had been played out as though it were happening in real time. Suddenly, the alibi did not protect him. It exposed him. Because if the stream was fake, then the next question was terrifying. Why would anyone fake a 6-hour live stream on the exact night his pregnant partner was murdered? The prosecution's case was that McCullagh had planned it. That he created the illusion of being at home. That he used the performance to cover a journey from Lisburn to Ligon. That he disguised his movements. that he killed Natalie. And then, after the murder, that he continued to manipulate the people around her. This is one of the most unsettling parts of the case, because the alleged performance did not end with the stream. Reports from the trial and sentencing describe McCullagh as presenting himself as devastated. He attended Natalie's wake. He appeared to grieve. He made public gestures of mourning. He even created content connected to her death. To the outside world, he could look like a broken partner. But the court would later hear a very different story. A story of calculation. A story of misdirection. A story of a man trying to guide suspicion away from himself. At one point, suspicion was pushed toward another man from Natalie's past. And that detail is chilling because it shows how far the deception was said to go. This was not just, according to prosecutors, a fake alibi. It was an attempt to write an alternative version of the crime. A version where the killer was not the person closest to her. A version where the internet seemed to prove he was innocent. A version where grief itself became part of the mask. But the mask began to crack. The live stream was examined. CCTV was examined. Phone data was examined. The timeline was reconstructed. And slowly, the image of the man at home started to separate from the physical movements investigators believed they could prove. That is the strange horror of this case. There were two Stevens that night. One on the screen. One in the world. The one on the screen was visible, relaxed, contained in a room, doing what his viewers expected him to do. The one in the world was, according to the court's findings, carrying out a planned and brutal attack. And for a while, the screen version was convincing enough to raise doubt. That is what makes this more than a standard true crime case. It belongs to a new era. An era where an alibi can be performed for an audience. Where a timestamp can feel like proof. Where being online can look the same as being present. Where viewers can be turned, without knowing it, into witnesses for a lie. Think about that. If you watched the stream that night, you might have believed you were seeing reality. You might have believed you were watching a man who could not possibly be committing a crime. You would not know that the performance may have been created for you, and for the police, before the crime ever happened. That is why the fake live stream is the part of this case people cannot stop talking about. It feels modern in the worst possible way. Not because the internet caused the crime, but because the internet was used as cover. It was turned into a stage. And the audience was never told they were watching a rehearsal. When McCullagh was eventually rearrested, the case moved into a long legal process. He denied murdering Natalie. But in court, prosecutors described the killing as planned, calculated, and premeditated. They argued that the live stream was a cover story. They pointed to digital evidence. They pointed to travel and CCTV. They pointed to the way the supposed live broadcast did not behave like a true live broadcast. And they pointed to what happened after Natalie died. The messages. The behavior. The attempts to redirect suspicion. The performance of grief. During the trial, the jury heard how the stream had appeared to run for hours on the night of the murder. They heard that investigators later determined it had been created earlier and broadcast as if live. They heard that the alibi which first seemed so strong was, in the prosecution's case, part of the plan. And eventually, Stephen McCullagh was convicted of murder. In June 2026, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 31 years. The judge described the murder in severe terms, emphasizing its planning and cruelty. For Natalie's family, no sentence could restore what was taken. Her father spoke about a family sentence of their own, a life sentence of grief. And that is the part every true crime viewer needs to remember. Behind the shocking headline is a family that did not choose to become part of a viral case. Behind the fake live stream is a woman who lost her life. Behind the digital trick is a child who was never born. True crime often focuses on the puzzle, the timeline, the clues, the mistake that gave someone away. And yes, this case is a puzzle so disturbing that it almost feels like fiction. A fake live stream. A public alibi. A pre-recorded performance. A man pretending to be in one place while evidence later placed him on a path to another. But the center of the story is not the cleverness of the lie. It is the cruelty of what the lie was meant to hide. Natalie McNally was not a plot twist. She was a person. And that is why this case feels so difficult to sit with. Because the same technology that allows people to connect, build communities, entertain audiences, and create a life online was used, in this case, as part of a plan to mislead. A live stream is supposed to mean immediacy. It is supposed to say, this is happening now. But here, the entire meaning of live was weaponized. And that raises a question that reaches far beyond this one case. How much of what we see online do we trust because it feels live? How much do we accept because there is a timestamp, a video, a face on screen, a voice talking casually in the background? How often do we confuse visibility with truth? The police in this case did not stop at what the video appeared to show. They looked underneath it. They examined the technical traces. They compared the digital story with the physical world. And that is what broke the illusion. Because reality leaves more than one kind of evidence. A fake stream can create one timeline, but cameras, devices, movements, deleted files, and contradictions can create another. And when those timelines collide, one of them has to fall. In this case, the one that fell was the screen. The YouTube alibi collapsed. The performance collapsed. The image of the grieving partner collapsed. What remained was the truth accepted by the court. Stephen McCullagh murdered Natalie McNally. The case has now become one of those stories people share with disbelief. A YouTuber faked a live stream while committing murder. It sounds like a line written for a dark thriller. But it happened in a real family, in a real home, to a real woman. And perhaps that is why the story travels so quickly online. Because it feels impossible. It feels like something from the future of crime. A future where the lie is not simply spoken. It is produced, edited, scheduled, broadcast, watched, and believed. But there is another reason this case stays in your mind. It forces you to imagine the coldness required to plan not only the act, but the story around the act. To think ahead about what people will ask. To create an answer before the question arrives. To put a version of yourself on a screen so that, later, investigators might look at it and doubt the truth. That is not panic. That is not confusion. That is design. And design is what makes this case feel so chilling. The stream was not just a bad excuse after the fact. According to the court's findings, it was part of the architecture of the crime. A digital room built to contain suspicion. A performance built to survive the first questions. But it did not survive the deeper ones. And maybe that is the only small comfort in a case like this. The lie was sophisticated, but it was not perfect. The performance was calculated, but it left traces. The screen said one thing. The evidence said another. And in the end, the evidence was louder. Still, the question remains. What happens when the next person tries something like this with better tools? Not just a pre-recorded stream, but AI voice, deepfake video, automated chats, generated timestamps. A digital double that does not simply play a game, but talks, reacts, answers comments, and creates the illusion of life. If this case feels disturbing now, it may also feel like a warning. Because it shows how much power there is in making people believe you are somewhere you are not. And it shows how easily an audience can become part of an alibi without ever knowing. That is the darkness at the edge of this story. Not only what Stephen McCullagh did, but what the case reveals about the world around us. A world where a screen can lie with confidence. A world where grief can be performed. A world where content can be used as camouflage. Natalie McNally's life ended long before it should have. Her child never got the chance to be born. Her family was left with a wound no verdict can close. And for the rest of us, this case leaves behind a different kind of unease. The next time you see someone live online, you may not think much of it. You may see a face, a room, a game, a conversation. You may assume that what looks live is live. You may assume that being visible means being accounted for. But this case proves something terrifying. Sometimes, the person on the screen is not where you think they are. Sometimes, the stream is not a window. Sometimes, it is a curtain.